At the very end of the game, after getting a win over the Cleveland Browns, the Pittsburgh Steelers fans sounded like this in Acrisure Stadium. So incredible that they were all on the same page, because that's a lot. Fire Canada. 5 syllables.
Yeah.
That's incredible they were all on the same page. It does feel like the whole city feels like that.
Yeah.
Do you still feel after a big-time win? George Pickens was eating out there. Pickett was finding them. Naj, obviously, interesting time of his career. But Warren's getting loose. He's scooting.
Yeah.
The offense brings a big-time win home to the Pittsburgh Steelers fans, and all they're thinking about is this offense coordinator can't get out of here fast enough. And if Tomlin thinks that we're loud right now on the internet, wait until he actually hears us.
Yep.
It probably took, 3 Yinzers to go, Fire Canada. And then, who's saying it? Yeah, now is our time. Tomlin's here. Even though he has his headset on, he can get it. It's fascinating what's going on with this guy. I have not seen this. Pittsburgh fans expect a lot. Pittsburgh fans love the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh's happiness is much higher whenever the Pittsburgh Steelers are good. City is invested in team. But this is the loudest I've ever heard it around one particular person, especially this early in a season. This guy is the most hated man in Pittsburgh by far. Do you think last night did him any favors on the field, or do you think the fans weren't paying attention?
No, it reached a fever pitch last night, not only on the field but on the internet, because it was a national game. I got a lot of tweets and a lot of people telling me, like, oh, I thought you guys were overreacting, but I don't think you guys are, because that's how bad the offense kind of looked last night. Besides Pickens, it's like I don't know if I want to put it all on him, because Kenny hasn't looked great either. Kenny's made some mistakes, and obviously if your quarterback's not looking good, then the OC's not looking good. But is he not looking good because of the OC? I just don't know how the defense won that game last night. They scored 14, I believe. The offense scored 12.
And Boz, baby.
Yeah, and Boz is awesome.
Killing
a couple
it.
50-yarders from Boz. But yeah, it reached a fever pitch last night, and I don't know how they move forward from there. They can't do it again. They like another game where they didn't even get 300 yards of offense last night. Like, there was. Like, you have 2 good plays in a row.
Daniel Jones got 316 yards of offense in the second half against Bucks this past week. So,
team was like 350.
Yeah. So, whenever you're talking about like a 300-yard marker, pretty standard operating procedure for NFL teams, especially with how defenses are playing teams nowadays, basically giving people yards and then tightening up in the red zone whenever it really matters. Doesn't seem to happen against Pittsburgh Steelers. They feel like it's red zone full time.
There's just some, like, there will be 2 good plays in a row, and then you'll have a Matt Canada, hey, let's run a jet sweep reverse that gets shoved up your ass for minus 11, and then you're behind the sticks. Or like, hey, Naj is not the fastest running backs. We see that now. So why are we giving it out of shotgun just east and west every time he gets a run? There's just some things that, or hey, let's run Kenny straight up the middle on a 3rd and 1 that we need to win the game. When that's not even the thing that they ever do. Maybe that's what he was thinking. I don't know.
A bug just landed on a Cowboy hat. It kind of distracted me as you're talking towards the end there. We got to maybe get this place debugged.
Yeah, a lot of bugs.
But speaking of bugs, did you see how bugged Mike Tomlin was with the question that came to him last night? Because how Tone feels is how this particular media member feels, asking about Kenny Pickett and Matt Canada immediately after a win against the Cleveland Browns on Monday Night Football.
Coach, again, like I asked you last week, in terms of the slow start of Kenny Pickett, it seems like it's starting to be recurrent. They talk about Matt Canada, but I don't think it's all on Coach Canada. I think that the slow start of Kenny has to take its own responsibility.
Question. What's the question?
Are you going to do anything to spur them, or do you want them to kind of maybe up the ante a little bit?
Certainly. We got planning to do next week. It doesn't make sense for me to divulge it in this setting. We got a game coming up in 6 days. We'll let that do our talking.
He's the best.
Yeah. The best.
Bill Belichick, awesome, must listen. Mike Tomlin at a microphone, must listen.
Yeah, different.
Now, I do not believe he is in a good situation with Matt Canada at all, though.
No.
And Mike Tomlin has been a very loyal coach for a very long time. The Steelers organization has been a very loyal organization on who they hire, at what positions, who gets promoted. It's like a damn Chick-fil-A over there. Chick-fil-A, you have to work at Chick-fil-A for 2 years before you can own a Chick-fil-A.
That's right.
So you got to work there, learn the ways, do the whole thing.
Yep.
Then you could potentially own this cash cow that you're going to be able to keep running forever. It's like in Pittsburgh, you have to be there. Now, Tomlin got hired from outside outside in. I understand that completely for their new head coaching job, and I think that's potentially because Bill Carr actually told them, you need to just go find something new.
Yeah.
He actually told us that on this show.
Yeah.
He said, Bill Cowher, they asked me which one of my guys do they think should be the head coach, and Bill Cowher said, listen, I love all these guys and everything, but when you hired me, you brought me in from the outside. You might want to do that as well. They bring in Tomlin. They always hire from within. In old Canada, very rarely does a coach get fired in the middle of the season in Pittsburgh, if ever. I haven't looked into it enough. It's like a very patient, very old school style run. But with this one, buddy, what are we doing? We're wasting a lot of good years here because if you see Pickett and Pickens, it's like they're a real weapon. They're a real team. Without Deontay Johnson last night, still get a win. I very much understand that. But you see other offenses do their stuff, and it's like the Steelers aren't really taking advantage of any of the things that modern football has for you in the NFL.
Yeah, and it doesn't happen if ever do they fire anyone in the middle of the season. But I think everyone thinks the Niners and the Browns defenses and especially D-lines are really good. Let's see the next 2 weeks again.
Look at you. Be patient.
There we go.
Tony.
Yeah.
Raiders and Texans. They have the Raiders and Texans the next 2 weeks. If it doesn't look better against them, then let's,
Yeah, and that's what kind of stinks is what we were talking about a little bit before is like, Kenny, sure, there are people that are going to say he sucks, and if they want to say that, fine. But
that's because he wears 2 gloves.
Yeah, exactly. And they've been saying that since
What's
day
your
one.
problem?
That's part of it.
They've been saying that since day one, but they're not going to know with Canada. Like, if Canada is this bad, they have another year of waiting through Canada and then another year of trying to figure out is Kenny our guy. Yeah, Darius is just so disrespectful.
Bro, I mean, that we've all watched the game. We've played the game for a long time. Coming into the league with 2 gloves is one thing if you got a Hall of Fame career, and late in your career you may have some issues. Peyton Manning, Big Ben, Kurt Warner, went to the gloves late.
I saw you wore 2 gloves.
Who's that?
I wore one. I wore one.
Yeah, out on the edge playing corner. It's like a corner coming in wearing number 35. Like, you got to make some plays.
Or kicker
and then it's like, all right, he's a dog. But, and to be fair to the reporter who asked Tomlin that question, like, hey, you can't put it all on the coach. I said it last week. Good players make good coaches. And I don't think Canada called a terrible game. I don't think he called a great game, but it was some throws that were missed, which there will be every week, every quarterback. So the players got to, step up and make some plays too. That's Kenny. Starts with the quarterback.
Yeah, and like the missed throws, I absolutely understand that too. And there were some plays where Pickens is wide open and he just doesn't see him and he doesn't read it. But they're going to have to give Pickett another year no matter what happens this season just because of the fact that Matt Canada is kind of the scapegoat. Whether it's his fault or not, and it might be his fault completely, he is going to be the scapegoat.
Well, I like that. That's how Nick feels. Yeah. That's how Tone feels. No matter what happens here, you can blame Canada instead of Kenny. We're big-time Kenny Pickett programs. So
yeah, that's right.
We're happy.
Love you, Kenny.
He's going to get loved in this whole thing.
He's got to play better, too.
Well, okay, it's very kind of you.
Pickens and Warren are obviously 2 bright spots, though, so they're making plays.
And that's another thing. Like, as you're watching it all happen, I'm wondering if Tomlin's seeing Warren every time he gets the ball, something good happens. And then when Najee gets the ball, it's always like, and he had a couple big-time plays. Najee had a couple big-time plays where he cut it back. He did the whole thing. But the Warren guy is exciting, electrifying, has been. Need that in modern NFL. If you have a little speed, a little juice, that opens things up for everybody else, especially whenever you're out Deontay Johnson. I think personally that Dan Orlovsky is coming on the program in 6 minutes. He watched the film, okay?
Yeah.
He was calling the other game. He watched the film
During the other game?
on the plane, afterwards.
Okay.
And he put out a tweet this morning. He said, this ain't Matt Canada's worst game. Everybody needs to relax. He called a good game. The amount of quote tweets to responses and retweets, obviously big. So Pittsburgh Steelers fans are currently attacking, I believe, Dan Orlovsky pretty loudly. Excited to hear what his thoughts are on Matt Canada's calling of the game last night and of Kenny Pickett because he watched the tape at 2 a.m. last night. He dove in there, and he knows what he's doing. Remember, he was going to get an offense coordinator job with the Carolina Panthers.
That's right.
Let's talk about that game. So the Carolina Panthers and the Saints game, boy, that was Broncos-Colts all over.
Yeah, bad football.
That was some tough football. Now, Dan Orlovsky, Louis Riddick, and Chris Fowler and Laura Rutledge did a great job.
Yep. Loved it.